Thank you, everybody, for joining. My name is Steve Alexander. I am head of marketing and partnerships at Anagram. I've been in eye care for, I passed the 20-year mark last year. I started as an optician and have been in this industry ever since. And I love it. I think there's a lot of opportunity here for us to do quite a bit of good. And what we're here to talk about today is what Anagram and Nikon are doing together to bring that good to you and to your patients. So I'd like to introduce everybody to Everest Pandya from Nikon Canada USA. Is that the official organization title?
Nikon USA Inc. reporting to Canada. I think it's something like that. Yeah. Yeah. No, Steve. Thanks for the intro. And as Steve mentioned, my name's Everest. I'm the director of business development for Nikon USA, which reports to Canada. And I run really the commercial strategy and the marketing strategy for Nikon here in USA. I'm not as much of a veteran as Steve is in the eye care industry. I've been with Nikon for about 7 years now. Done the whole 9 yards really as a rep. Worked my way up to run commercial architecture for Canada, and then moved over into the States about a year ago. Picked up my whole life and just shifted over into Denver from Toronto. So that's me. So pleasure, guys. Thanks for folks connecting, and I know people are going to be rolling in, but thank you all for giving us the opportunity to chat here.
We really appreciate it. So let's kind of dive right in. Just so you guys know, everyone who's attending, it's going to be a conversation, sort of a Q&A session. We're going to be asking to learn a bit about Nikon and our partnership and what we're trying to accomplish here. But if there are questions that you don't hear us asking or don't hear me asking, let us know, right? This is meant to be we're looking forward to your participation, is how I'll phrase that. So why don't we start? Actually, you mentioned you picked up and moved from Toronto. You picked up your life about a year ago. How and why did Nikon sort of start moving into the US as a real opportunity?
Yeah, so again, looking at it on a personal level, for me, when I was up in Canada, we had a very, very strong foundation of Nikon in Canada. And when I was looking across the border, for me, the opportunities were endless because we had such a small, market share, such a small visibility aspect to Nikon. So really for me, it was like, give me a shot. I know we can grow it like we grew Canada. So hence why I moved, but really, Nikon has really developed a long and proud expertise in high precision optics, right? Everything from photography to integrated circuits, we've been involved in. We really combine the Japanese craftsmanship with, over a century of innovation, with the mission always being to offer unmatched quality of vision and durability. There's actually a fun fact, and what really interests me about Nikon is that in every single Nikon product, and every single vertical that you look at Nikon's in, there's an optical lens system. So we are a true lenswear company. We only deal in lenses, and we have no other verticals to focus in. To be frank, we are not the jack of all trades, but we are definitely the master at one. Because of this, let's say this foundation of lenses, we actually share one joint research facility among all our divisions because of the commonality. It's called the Nikon Core Tech Center. And in fact, actually, another part that really interests me, because my educational background is engineering, so all about R&D and whatnot. So the fact that I learned as I got a little bit more entrenched into Nikon is actually 7% of Nikon's gross revenue is actually funneled back into R&D, which is twice the amount of our closest competitor. And it's through the R&D that they've created this legendary brand for over 100 years. You fast forward to 2021, you're looking at it, you're like, Nikon cameras, but there's all these other cameras out there, but the Nikon name still stays true of mind. It still invokes that quality and that trustworthiness of a brand at the top of a consumer's mind.
I think that's really great, actually, the focus on the technology in particular. 2/3 of the people attending this webinar so far are here to learn about tech, so it's perfect.
Yeah. So that's really it, right? So like, as I mentioned, tech is at the core of what we do. And that's what's really helped us remain at the top of consumers' mind. And, we're what now the seventh most known brand name in the consumer marketplace. Out of, I think we're next to like Barbie. Just a fun
Oh, you
fact,
mean like
but,
all products? Nikon
I
is
mean,
the seventh.
in the world, yeah, like in the world. So
Oh,
that's the interesting part, right? So to utilize that brand and now take it into eye care, to take it into these different verticals where we use optical systems. I mean, it's game changing. So in optical specifically, we play in about the top 10% of the marketplace. There's obviously a very clear value prop in the markets we enter, and it really comes down to you can really see our value prop come to life when you look at some of the other international markets like Japan, Canada, UK, some of the most premium eye care markets in the world.
so being that Nikon has only recently entered into the US in earnest, what relationships do you already have in place? Contractual or partnerships or what have you? Who are you working with in the States in the eye care industry?
Yeah. I mean, like exactly. We're a little bit newer to the game. I mean, we've been here since 07, 08, but since then we haven't really had a commercial go-to market strategy, if that makes sense. We've really played in our local marketplaces. What's really helped us this year and the coming years is partnership. So in the industry, we're really trying to align ourselves to tech leaders, right? Tech leaders in their own vertical, like that of Anagram, like that of we've signed a deal with Sunbit for buy now, pay later technologies. We're working with some of the most luxury chains in the marketplace, like your Ed Beiners, Black Optical, are exclusively distributing Nikon lenses. So we've really made sure to look at the US market and find out the right key players that are going to continue to sustain the growth in independent eye care versus that of signing on with the consolidators or what I like to call the price terrorists in the market. Yeah.
And I think there's a question. So for you and I have been working together for a couple of months, I think now, and a question that has come up a couple of times is around Nikon's relationship with Essilor and this notion that Essilor owns Nikon, or Nikon is a subsidiary of Essilor. So I'd love for you to weigh in and kind of give us an insight into what the nature of that relationship is, and I think more importantly, what the nature of that relationship is not.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm glad you asked that, because this is the heavy-handed one, and this is the one that always comes up wherever we participate on a global scale. So first and foremost, the point that I like to clarify is that Nikon Optical operates its production and commercial strategy completely independent from any North American players. Our labs are wholly owned, and we calculate all our products through our design engine in Japan, like that core tech center that I said. Now and then, we do partner with industry players if they align our corporate positioning, and they're beneficial to both the industry and the customers. You know, we'll partner with independent frame manufacturers like IC Berlin, Makita. We'll partner with the contact lens distributors. We have a deal with Alcon in UK, with some retailers like the Iris chain in Canada, which is only premium, only sells independent, or even tech companies like that of Anagram. We don't share any of our technology with any players. Everything that we do is proprietary. And as I mentioned, we invest a lot into R&D. So that's what helps bring to market like the 174 index, or the first clear coating that cut blue, and that was Nikon. But like I said, there's always times where we'll evaluate other discoveries that meet Nikon standards, like transitions in photochromic or exposure in polarization. Now, the point that I like to make here is there is no secret that Nikon and Essilor have a small relationship on an international level. It's actually one of the reasons why we're able to use Transitions and Xperia on our lenses, because we're not going to reinvent the wheel, because Transitions has a majority market share and Xperia is one of two companies that polarize lenses, and they own them. And it's the reason why Essilor is able to distribute their lenses in Japan. So kind of diving a little bit more into this. So in some markets, as a lens manufacturer, we do adapt our distribution model depending on the local market we're focusing on, the historical presence, and the maturity. We'll sometimes provide our competitor labs, like in Asia or Australia, the rights to produce Nikon lenses. It's not a unique business decision. It's not a unique business model. Shamir and Essilor, Hoya and Seiko, Zeiss, Rodenstock, they all use similar methods in local players. in some countries. But the key part that I want to make sure that it's driven across is in North America, we have a wholly owned subsidiary dedicated to manufacturing and selling Nikon lenses. And we don't provide any labs with contracts here. You could do a Google search on Nikon and S4, and you will find in 1999, Nikon and S4 reached an agreement to distribute S4 lenses through Japan's facility. So in essence, they created a lab, and they called the lab Nikon S4, where Nikon Corp and S4 had a joint venture. The goal of this lab was to distribute Nikon lenses and S4 in Japan. It allowed us to access technologies like transition to Xperia, and it's involved in commercially developing Nikon. But it's a joint venture. There's no partnership, there's no acquisition. So a joint venture means there's no change in ownership. It's an equal investment into one common project. So the last thing I got to leave you guys with is to make it very clear, is that S4 of America or Hoya of America don't have any access on a commercial level to any of Nikon's technologies resources. We make all our decisions independently, and there is no ownership at stake. The only question is that we do flex some of our technologies now and then to access things like transitions and Xperia to combine our products and make it into a wicked offering.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
So I think as an intro to Nikon, we've got a good understanding of why you're opening the market in the States, what you're trying to accomplish here. I think what we're going to do next is kind of dive into, I think the biggest curiosity point for the audience here is in Nikon's technology. Yeah. So we've got a couple of poll questions that are going to come through as well about the lenses that you're currently using in your practice. So feel free to respond to those. But for Everest, what I'd like to ask is, in your mind, obviously that's going to come with a little bit of bias, but in your mind, yeah. How does Nikon stack up against the other products in the marketplace? So every lens manufacturer that I've ever spoken with says that their technology is the best. Yeah. Right. Yeah. So the question is, from what you've seen, from the research that you guys have done, from patient satisfaction or customer satisfaction, how do Nikon progressive lenses and Nikon coatings and such compare to the other players in the space?
Yeah, I mean, solid question. I'm not surprised you guys thought that, right? So you know, I'd like to be honest here, right? Like, I would be lying here if I said any of the big four, you know, Essilor, Zeiss, Hoya, or Nikon produce subpar lenses. Because in reality, if they did, they wouldn't survive, right? You're seeing this with local labs today. Local labs like to cut costs and produce something cheap, but that usually means at the cost of visual performance. You'll never see the big four do that. Now, what really makes Nikon different in the sense between these three is our positioning, right? R&D, adaptation, and unique brand. You know, and where you can actually get this product. We have a very selective distribution model. As I said, we don't give contracts to everyone. Not every single lab is able to produce our product. Not every single customer is able to access our product. And the technology in our top end lens, where we scrapped the notion of a base design for PAL lenses, right? When we talk about progressive lenses, and I'll shift gear, you know, I'll go through each portfolio here. But when we shift gears and we talk about progressive lenses, that there's always this one commonality that comes up, and it's always that thing that you've heard is, oh, I can't adapt to this lens. Oh, I prefer the X design over the My style. I prefer the individual two or whatnot. And this is because all lenses inherently are designed with a base design, and it's up to your patient or customer to adapt to it. But if we get real here, we're at the point in technology that even if we keep coming out with more and more lenses, and I claim it's wider, it's wider, it's wider, it would be so minuscule because about 5 years ago, it was perfected. There's no more room left to play on a lens. And now it's becoming more of a marketing push, as we like to say. So what Nikon has decided to pivot their focus and their key R&D on is adaptation. And this is what we achieved with our new lens design. And actually, we were nominated for the Silmo. We were the only lenswear company nominated for the Silmo Innovation Awards for outstanding design. We scrapped that whole notion of a base design, and we really want to bespoke this lens for your customer. So you can really flex the design to become a hard design, a soft design. You could provide, you know, numerous amount of parameters if you wanted. And we're so sure that this lens will work, along with any of our other lenses, that we actually provide complementary pairs for you to experience the Nikon difference. And the other key part for our positioning is simplicity, right? Because of our customer base and because we're later to the game, to be frank, I notice people are coming out with books and books and books of lenses. That's not the way Nikon wants to perform. So what we decided to do was create a one-page portfolio, really simply. We have 4 progressives based on a good, better, best, and a unique model, 2 single vision lenses, and 1 office design. This covers all the technologies grouped into one package without that marketing noise that you'd get, without that notion of how different really is this, because we really want you to see the visual difference.
Something I think this industry suffers from in particular is the illusion of choice. You see it in lens selection, you see it in contact lenses, and you see it in frames. And there are a number of, I think, reasons why the industry has fallen into these kinds of habits. There has been a lot of conventional wisdom that says your dispensary should have over 1,000 frames. And what that leads to is people kind of doing it, but not doing it in a directed way, not doing it in a way that those 1,000 frames are really inherently different or lead to patients making informed decisions about why they're choosing what they're choosing. And what ends up often happening is practices actually have diluted their offering by having a little bit from everyone and having a ton of different choices. I know as an optician, when a OD would pass me a patient and say, "Hey, Steve, here's Mr. Jones. I've got a new prescription for a progressive for him." And if I'd been working there for a while, the doctor and I would have a relationship where the doctor would be recommending the progressive that I was going to recommend anyway. And usually I had in mind a good, better, best sort of construct, and I led with best. I've spoken with, at this point, thousands of opticians over the last 20 years. And, some of them will say, I make an individual recommendation for each patient based on their lifestyle needs. And I think the point that you made earlier is particularly salient in that the physics of lenses and the technology of digital progressives in lenses have been, to a significant extent, perfected.
Yeah.
What you can do now with digital surfacing and position of wear compensation is you can make what is, in fact, from beginning to end, a customized lens for this patient without, to your point again, without a base design to wrestle against. It is built for that patient, for their prescription, for their frame, to the point where you don't actually need 70 different progressives in mind. You don't need all of those options that give the illusion of choice rather than actual choice, especially if you're able to develop a rapport with your patient and have them understand some amount of what you understand about your lenses, in that you're offering them clarity at every level and the adaptation piece. And actually, I would love for you to add in a little bit of more on the adaptation of Nikon progressives, because I think that's the part, when I was an optician, the conversation I wanted to have the least was, I know they feel weird right now, but give them a couple of days and you'll feel better, which is super common. But yeah, weigh in on that a little bit if you don't mind, Everest.
Yeah, this is exactly it, right? Adaptation is exactly that. Like, because, in our marketplace, we've always designed lenses with the lens technology in mind, and we haven't taken the patient into consideration, right? So it's always been, the patient will adapt to the lens eventually. Your eyes will eventually focus onto the right areas and you'll be okay. Give it 2 weeks. Because we scrapped that notion in our top end lens of that base design, and now you can actually customize it right from the get-go. You can even give us, something really interesting. You can even give us what they were wearing previously. If they were wearing Essilor, Hoya, Zeiss, you can actually tell us this, and we'll map the distortion pattern, because the idea for adaptation for us is we want as little swim effect and as great power distribution as possible. And the only way to achieve that is if we go from scratch. Nikon has the luxury of going down that route, because yes, it's more expensive to manufacture a lens that way, but we are not volume dealers. We're not looking to open up and down the street of everyone. We're not looking to go into the big box chains and work on it like that. So for us, having that luxury of creating those bespoke lenses is how we achieve that great adaptation. And actually, there's a fun fact. We launched the lens out in February. We've sold, I think year to date, about like 823 pairs, and we've had one non-adapt to the lens. So if that kind of gives anyone some sort of reassurance that these lenses work, and of course we always provide the complimentary first, so that you can really believe it. If it works, then you move on. And then the last piece I do like to add is, and you mentioned it, is that customization piece. Is, we're trying to go down a simple route. So we don't want to remove options from our lenses just because that'll cut costs for an optician. We want to, because of our customer base being, primarily independent opticians and independent optometrists, who are very, very well trained and very technical at fitting our lenses, we actually allow customization on all our lenses. So you can go and select corridors on our lenses. You can go and provide base curves from anywhere from 2 to 8. You can give us fitting parameters. You can go the whole 9 route with our lenses. So we ensure that it's as simple as possible to implement this portfolio, but it doesn't take away from visual performance, or it doesn't take away that choice per se.
Interesting. You mentioned a couple of times actually that you're not looking for mass distribution, or you're pretty selective about where your lenses go and how what the audience is for it. Can you shed a little light on what sort of eye care professional is the ideal Nikon customer?
Yeah, so our customer base is only independent ECPs, and I'm actually going to bring up a topic that we kind of touched on before, but not really. Was how we got started in the US. So back in about 25 years ago, when Japan was deciding how to enter North America, they quickly realized USA was going to be a tough battle because of, as you're seeing now, all the insurance players, all the verticalization that's occurring, and obviously our competitors having already set networks. So we decided to enter Canada independently, created a robust network, was no barrier of entry. In USA, however, there was a big barrier. So what we decided to do, which was a wise business decision, and let's keep wise as a very qualitative term, okay? It's very subjective. Japan decided, why not enter through a chain that will provide a solid distribution model? We could position it as a premium, and we'll just trademark the product. We'll let the other guys make it. So that's where we approached S4 of America and asked if they would like to trademark a product into Walmart and create a premium offering. Obviously, fast forward to when we actually set up our own independent operations into America. That's no longer a big one for us, because now we've got exclusive products for independents. Now, the ECPs that we're really targeting, and what Nikon Optical as a core company targets, is our base is only independent ECPs. We're looking to work with folks who want to uphold the Nikon's prestigious name. You want to capitalize on lenswear sales. You don't want to just focus on your frames, because there's 2 parts to every sale. We are looking for boutiques or community champions where we can give back to the local community. And we're looking for folks who are looking for geographic exclusivity. As I mentioned, Nikon is not for everyone, right? We're not looking for it to be. The last thing we want to do is open accounts up and down the street from our partners just to compete with themselves, right? We are providing radius of exclusivity if you're willing to partner. And we also don't want to partner that's not going to keep the integrity of the optical business. So we don't want to go down the route of buy one, get one for $49. Here, purchase our lenses online, because it deteriorates and commoditizes the space for the future generations as well. So we're really looking for those community leaders. We don't have, a lot of labs will say we're looking for an account that's worth $5,000, $10,000, this. We don't have that, because, you could be a boutique that's upholding the Nikon names just as well as a 6-doctor practice, right? So to us, it's more about the positioning and the values of the company versus that of just $1, because we've got the luxury of doing it, to be frank.
So you're looking for mission alignment more so than big accounts.
Yes.
That's, from my point of view, super different from the rest of the lens companies in the space. The geographic exclusivity is also quite an interesting approach. I think that's a lot of practices would benefit from that. I think in my experience, practices that I speak with are concerned with the volume and variety of competition that they wrestle with all the time. So an individual practice anywhere in America has other local practices to compete against, other retail practices to compete against, other big box places to compete against that are entering into eye care spaces like Walgreens and CVS or Macy's or what have you, online competitors and contact lens competitors, and even the vision plans that they accept are competing with them directly too. So there's so much competition out there that all of them to one degree or another have a similar product set, or at least have access to a similar product set. So it sounds like that kind of exclusivity is an opportunity for a differentiation, which I think is incredibly valuable and might be the most valuable thing that a practice can do, is set itself apart from its competition in a way that appeals to your audience or your prospective audience. Patients don't know lens brand names by and large. The one exception for like a lens only thing that patients know about, or two exceptions that both come from Essilor. One is Varilux and one is Crizal, and Essilor has spent millions upon millions of dollars getting those things to be out in the public sort of awareness. But in truth, when I was an optician, a patient would call me and say, do you have Varilux? Do you have Crizal? Absolutely, I do. And they would come in, and then I would sell them whatever coating or lens I wanted to sell them anyway, because it's not about the brand for them with something that they've only heard of one time. But the counterpoint to that, though, is if somebody is into photography, they know about Nikon. If someone is into anything lens related, they've heard of Nikon. Nikon has been a fundamental camera brand in so many different places for so long that it is as much part of your just like general brand awareness as a consumer as any other big company. Yep.
Yeah, actually, and it's funny that you mentioned that. So in 2019, there was a study that was done. I believe it was done by Essilor, which is funny, but they had done a study of about 10,000 consumers in the United States market, and they essentially listed out brands that they know in eye care, and they actually ranked Nikon as number 2, even though we have the least amount of accounts or spaces, followed by Transitions being number 1. So in terms of brand recognition, it's there. The key part of aligning with our brand, and hence why we're going down that route of geographic exclusivity and the idea of maintaining the integrity of the brand. That's why we don't want to partner with every single person. And as a commercial strategy manager, it allows me to really be focused on where to point our teams as well. But our brand and any brand you use, it invokes certain inherent characteristics in a patient, right? Which is not what a lot of brands in the marketplace do. Like everything is a brand. Steve, you're a brand. I'm a brand, right? But it's those characteristics that you're invoking over a century of innovation that's what the patient's going to buy into and not be able to find everywhere. That's the key part. We also, as like a tidbit here, we also do provide an MSRP to all our accounts to allow them to know exactly what to price our lenses around. I'm not saying we strictly kind of control them.
You don't necessarily hold them to that, but you make a suggestion.
No. Yeah, we make a suggestion primarily because we know the partners are going to be charging around there as well. So we don't want you to be competing with up and down the street saying, hey, I'm getting like $10 cheaper there. Like that's not the point here. Yeah.
Right.
So that's where we're at. That makes sense.
Let's assume for a second that everyone listening to this is super jazzed about Nikon and wants to open an account right now.
Yeah.
What do they do? What does that process look like? How long does it take? How long before they get their own free pair of Nikon lenses?
Yeah. So the account opening process is as simple can be. So what we've done is we have one credit app. You fill out the credit app, it's sent directly to our accounting team within about 24 hours, as long as our accounting team is actually in office. You get the account number. Once you get the account number, we set up your ordering platform. So you could be with, our labs are compatible with both VisionWeb, RX Wizard, or any of the other patient management systems. So as soon as you get your account number, it's as simple as either calling VisionWeb and having the account set up to our lab, or giving us the RX Wizard username, and we set up the account for you. And as soon as that's done, we're looking at maybe a 48-hour process max to open up an account. Once everything's set up within that space, you'll also get a packet of Nikon information. And what we're working on right now is creating a digital application, so we don't have to actually even use papers anymore. We can just send you the code for our app, and you get all the resources directly on an iPad. And once that's done, I mean, you're ready to go with your first pair of lenses. We'll provide complimentary to your customers and to your team to make sure that everyone is experiencing the Nikon difference. Because, like I said, we're newer to the game. I mean, I could say a ton of things, but you're not going to notice the difference until you try it yourself, or your patient tries it themselves, and they get that wow factor. Once they get that wow factor, we're good. So, our process may be a little bit more daunting than some other labs, because we really want to be thorough in our account opening process. We want to be thorough for you. We want you to do your own due diligence and make sure that we are the right partner. But once that 2-week process maximum has occurred, then we're rearing to go from there.
When you and I were first talking about partnering together between Anagram and Nikon, one of the things that got me the most excited about it, about our partnership, was when you had suggested, because I think I asked something like, can our customers get like a free set of lenses for themselves or for their patients? And you're like, yeah, we actually recommend that our customers certainly try it for themselves, but also, rather than giving Nikon lenses to your next patient to test it out, find a difficult patient to test it out on. And I thought that spoke to a general understanding of how to win over a practice, right? Because if you can get a new lens on a difficult patient right away with limited adaptation difficulty, that's a huge, huge win. Yeah. But also it speaks to your confidence in the product. And that got me really excited, because I know that one of the most difficult things to do in any profession, in any position, is to change behavior. Yeah. So what you need to change behavior is proof that it works, repetition, consistency, and good reasons to continue. And I think Nikon provides all of those.
Yeah, and that's the point of our trial program, right? We don't want to, like I said, it's no obligation. We don't want to sell someone on anything. We don't need to sell them on anything. We need them to believe in the product and believe in the experience, and that's what we want, opticians and optometrists to really understand.
We've got a question from an attendee about blue light filtering technology. Everest, go right ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've got two options that come into play. Our Seacoat Blue is our coating. It's our blue light coating. It was the first generation. It was the first coating to be ever introduced into the marketplace. It's called the Seacoat Blue. So what it is essentially it's a coating that filters about 40% of blue light. You will see let's call it like a blue reflection, because it's doing its job. But our blue reflection is a true blue. It's not purple. It's not any other color, because we're filtering true high energy blue light. And that's called the Seacoat Blue, and it's a coating you can apply on any of our products. You pair it up with transitions, and you're really maximizing the blue light, both protection and the style of it. We've also got an option where you can get it in mass, so in the material itself. You won't get the same amount of protection, but really the in material is designed for aesthetics. People who don't like the reflection, well, we have let's call it a halfway point, which is in the material, which gives you about 20% protection. You look at the industry standard, that is the industry standard, just because those blanks are pretty much industry standard. So with blue light, you've got two options with Nikon, both a coating, which gives you maximum, and then you've got a in mass, which gives you part of the way there, but it's for aesthetics, right? And it's for someone who's not spending all their time on the computer, right? But our blue light coating, the best way to, like I said, experience it, and as Steve said, is for you to actually order a sample and take a look at it.
And I know that this was not a question asked, and it wasn't the next question I was going to ask, but as long as we're talking about specific products that Nikon offers, I would love to learn more. Actually, I've been meaning to ask you this for a while, so I'm going to put you on the spot here. The Seacoat Bright. I'm really, really curious about that. That to me, because most lens manufacturers have a blue light AR now. Most have, your standard AR and have varying levels of features and hard coats and oleophobic and all that stuff. But Seacoat Bright, as far as I know, only exists in Nikon.
So we hold actually the patent there. So as I said, right at the starting, so Nikon shares one research facility amongst all our divisions. So the engineers at Nikon, essentially, we're looking at it. We're looking at nighttime photography lenses. And what they realized, they're like, okay, if nighttime photography lenses can create such sharp visual acuity in dim light situations, what if, and it was straight up this, what if we applied the same coating on ophthalmics? What does it do? So we did some white paper research. Essentially, what we came out with was, if you enhance the red wavelength in dim light situations where you're losing it and you're losing visual acuity, if you introduce this sort of tech into the lens, what's going to occur is you're going to gain contrast in dim light. You're almost going to be, night vision is the wrong word to use, but you're almost going to be restoring your vision, if that makes sense. And the Seacoat Bright, the biggest differences that are seen are in presbyomes, because as their eye ages, it starts to cloud, it starts to lose visual acuity. You'll notice if you ever go into a restaurant, you'll see some folks with their phone on the menu where you could see it clearly, right? Seacoat Bright, what it does is it amplifies the red wavelength in dim light and just shows more of a visual acuity on that image, so you can make out the concept. So I use nighttime photography as an example, but the easiest concept to understand this is, why are exit signs lit in red, right? Why is it written exit in red and not other colors? It's because when an emergency occurs, lights turn off. You want to be clearly able to make out that says exit. Any other color will scatter at night. Same with pilots. The reason their instruments are all lit in red when they're flying is because they can clearly make out what exactly that's written, because red light is what's going to increase that visual acuity. So the coating itself it's got like a little bit of a skin tone hue to it. Like if you put it against white paper, I don't know who's that white, but if you put it against white paper, you're going to notice a little bit of a pink hue, but on anyone's skin, it's clear. The only catch, and I like to mention this because we have some potential accounts or accounts there, is that we only manufacture this out of Japan. It's proprietary tech. We actually haven't opened it in any of our labs. So we only manufacture it out of Japan. So you usually look at about 2 to 3 business days extra.
Okay, so next up, let's kind of dig into our partnership. So we've been chatting for a little bit about Nikon, the tech, what you guys do, and I'm certainly excited about it, and it's part of the reason Anagram and Nikon have developed this relationship. So I'm going to just quickly introduce a bit about Anagram, our history, and what we're doing now, and then we can dive into these questions. We do have another poll up if you guys want to weigh in, but Anagram has been in the eye care space since 2016, and it started as a company called Patch. That software, it was a software company that developed a program that allows practices that are out of network with a given vision plan to pull out of network benefits and file out of network claims for their patients. We grew that from nothing, from a new idea, and into a software organization that helps over 2,000 practices file out of network claims every single month. So we've helped to drive private pay business through their doors, help them convert those patients from a phone call that might sound like, hey, do you accept this vision plan? And then the answer is no, and that's the end of the conversation. We've changed it to allowing practices to say yes to every customer, irrespective of their vision plan. So we've grown that. Anagram, or Patch, became Anagram, and Anagram's product became Access. So Anagram Access is now the out-of-network vision plan product. And then we recently launched Prosper. Prosper is the second product in Anagram's private pay business portfolio. So the idea here is to give your patients a reason to shop independent, to shop local, and to give practices this ability to create a more delightful experience than they can today. So what Prosper does effectively is it allows for a practice to give a patient an instant rebate for buying particular products in their practice. One of our most prominent partners for this is Nikon. We're able to offer patients a significant rebate when they purchase Nikon products. Those rebates get stronger as the patient gets a higher quality lens. And that's also true on the frame side. We've got frame relationships that increase the rebate as well. So when an Anagram Prosper practice opens a Nikon account or moves their existing Nikon account to our Prosper pricing, we will both give them significant savings off of the standard wholesale pricing with Nikon and facilitate an instant rebate to the patient, creating the kind of delightful experiences that don't presently happen in eye care. A lot of opticians are really hesitant to have the financial conversation, especially when you start nearing the $1,000 mark. A lot of patients don't love having that conversation either, because they don't really understand why things cost what they cost. And I think this is an opportunity for us to adjust the language around the transaction. There's a significant psychological difference. So I'm going to run this example for a second. If I'm going to buy a $500 pair of glasses, a lot of practices will give a courtesy discount of some percentage. And if that courtesy discount is, let's say, 10%. So I'm going to buy a $500 pair of glasses, but before I buy it, the optician or the practice gives me 10% off. So I'm actually going to pay the practice $450. That's my last financial transaction, my last financial interaction with the practices. I gave them $450. If instead I would pay the practice $500 and get a $50 rebate instantly after having purchased the glasses, my last financial interaction with that business was they gave me $50. I got an email that says, thank you for your business. We really appreciate that you chose us, and please enjoy this $50 gift card courtesy of our partners at Nikon and Frame Company. And that we've seen is so delightful for patients because they've never experienced that kind of thing. People talk about rebates in eye care all the time, right? When you have a contact lens sale, annual supply rebates are a big part of the conversation, and they are in fact a useful selling tool. Entire businesses exist to leverage those rebates and increase your annual supply sales. But the unfortunate truth of those rebates is manual forms that need to be filled out, things that you need to send through the mail, box tops that you need to put into that envelope. All of those things are significant barriers to have anyone actually do anything about the rebate. So across all industries, no matter how much money is being offered for a mail-in rebate, redemption is less than 10%. And if you sell contacts for a period of time, you'll run into that patient that says, I sent that rebate and I never got it, so I'm not going to buy the year this time. We built Prosper to preclude that entire conversation. The patient will get the rebate from the practice, from our partners, before they leave the office. What the patient can do with that, if they want to buy another pair of glasses, they're certainly welcome to do so. It's a Visa gift card. They can use it at the practice. They could go buy themselves lunch. They can do whatever they want with it. But what we do know for sure that they do is they tell everybody they know to go to that practice to get that rebate. So that is, in a nutshell, what the history of Anagram, the Anagram Prosper program, and some insight into the Anagram and Nikon relationship. Thank you, everybody, for participating in the polls. I think that it's been really great. Actually, I would love to ask you, Everest. I told you why I was interested in partnering with Nikon.
Yeah.
Why was Nikon interested in partnering with Anagram?
Yeah, I mean, to us, exactly what you said. So with Nikon, creating this new, unique, let's call it marketplace, and targeting independent practices, we have made a very cognizant decision not to be listed on a lot of managed vision care channels. So we actually are not listed on iMed. We're not listed on Davis, on Versant, or on these other players. We have a very small relationship with VSP, primarily because when we took over our labs, they had a relationship, so we kept it. But even then, we only have one product line that's listed. So, targeting a marketplace that has almost 80% managed vision care, to independent optician and optometrists, where managed vision care doesn't help them at all, makes no sense to us. So we made that cognizant decision. But how do we now target that 80%? Anagram to us was that conduit. Anagram is the one that's actually empowering the independent optometrists and opticians to keep the patient in office, to help them maximize their profitability and help them actually get out of that, category-based selling. I've got X amount of insurance, I can only purchase this. So Anagram is helping break that cycle, and that's what we want to be a part of. And hence why, to me, it was really a no-brainer. And now coming into the Prosper program, where your patients and customers can actually get a benefit for purchasing good technology, right? You're not selling them bad technology, you're selling them good technology, and they get even a benefit. I mean, to me, that's makes complete sense. Why wouldn't you want to benefit your customer for purchasing good technology, right? So that's why, to me, Anagram and Prosper together are a huge wrecking ball in the industry. Let's put it. Yeah.
I like that. Yeah, I mean, we are working for the benefit of private practice eye care. If you look at our website and you find the About Us page, you'll see that the things we want to accomplish, we want to move eye care forward. We want to promote price transparency. We want to help private practices be profitable. Alliteration aside, it is really important to us to make that successful, because the way things are going in the industry, you'd mentioned it earlier, a lot of verticalization in the space. The vision plans own labs and frame companies and EHRs and every other facet of the industry, and they're buying up literal shops as well. VSP owns VisionWorks and also has a VSP Ventures arm where they're buying practices. Luxottica owns all of the retail spaces. And there are a bunch of these things that make it really difficult to be successful as an independent. So, we need to, as an industry, find a way to set ourselves apart and deliver an experience that the big boys can't and won't. And we need to be able to bring that message to our potential audience. And I think something that is particularly important right now is that there is a movement among the largest demographic of your likely shoppers, is that they would prefer to shop local. They would prefer to support their mom and pop community businesses, their local restaurants, their local practitioners, all of that stuff. That is where their preferences are. But, by virtue of having been in the vision care sort of ecosystem for so long, a lot of private practice eye care has to price themselves out of the conversation. In order to get your fullest reimbursement from VSP, your progressive lenses have to be a particular retail price. The same thing is true with iMed. The same thing is true on the service side. And it's something that makes people question about whether or not they can afford going to a private practice shop. That's why the Warby Parkers of the world have been able to pop up, is because they've simplified their pricing. They've made the choices way easier to make. I mean, they have, a couple of hundred frames, and actually they have like 12 frames in like 10 different colors. Yeah. So it's really interesting to see what's been happening in the industry and then try to adapt that to what we're doing to make the industry stronger. So I think our partnership makes a ton of sense because we are tech focused, private practice focused, differentiator focused, and that's what our bread and butter customer is. Anagram customers tend to be the practices that understand that doing it the way we've always done it is not a good method of moving forward. It's not a great way to grow. You can't keep doing the same thing and expecting different results.
Right. That's exactly it. That's exactly it. This is why it makes sense.
I really appreciate everyone being here and your attendance. And Everest, thank you so much for taking the time. Let us know any fun stuff you've got going on.
No, I appreciate it, Steve. Thanks for hosting this forum here. I mean, I think it's incredibly important to have this sort of forum, right? To ensure that everyone is educated on all their options and they make an informed choice.
I think we can call it here. Everest, why don't you sign off, and then I will sign off, and we can go from there.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, guys, everyone, attendees and Steve and Connor and the whole Anagram organization. Again, thank you for giving us this platform to better empower independent optometrists, to better push our message into the market and ensure that we have sustainable growth and we continue to prosper in this eye care industry.
Everest, thank you so much for being here, for answering all of our questions, for providing clarity on where Nikon is, where Nikon is going, the ownership relationship. I think that's really important that we got that clarified. Everyone who attended, thank you guys for being here. I know it's in the middle of the day, but hopefully it was informative. We will be following up with you with some additional information coming out of this webinar. And we've actually got a fantastic blog that Connor wrote on comparing Nikon progressive lenses to Verilux progressive lenses. We will be expanding on that to provide additional clarity with other brands, but we'll shoot a link out for everyone to have a look at that. Otherwise, thanks everybody for joining. We'll talk to you soon. Have a great day.
Awesome. Thanks, y'all. Bye.
Bye, everybody.